Okay, let's begin our today's class. Today we look into the topic on monopolistic, which is on another market structure. So as usual, before we look into the details of the market structure itself, we need to first to understand the characteristics of the market structure. Okay, so in general, when you look into monopolistic competition, okay, when you look into monopolistic firms, basically we are referring to a market in which there are a large number of firms. Okay, there are still a lot of producers over there, but it's just that they are selling differentiated products and services. So that's the first keyword that you need to remember. So this is why when we are referring to the firms like cafe, restaurant, clothing stores, okay, all these are under the category of monopolistic firms. There are a lot of the producers, a lot of competitions in the market, but they still can differentiate between their item as compared to the rivals to some extent. So we are calling them as differentiated products or services. Okay, so since we know that it is quite competitive as well because there are a number of producers in this market, so therefore when they were to compete, they have to compete in terms of quality. Okay, they must make sure that their design is good, it is innovative, it's special, so that it can attract the attention of the consumers. Price must be reasonable as well. They cannot charge it very high like Monopoly, you know, like because when you talk about Monopoly that you learned last week, they are the only seller in the industry. Okay, but here monopolistic is different. There are a lot of producers, so they have to take this into account. So they cannot simply price their products too high. And they can compete in terms of their marketing as well, like doing advertisements, okay, doing a brand loyalty program, okay. So that's how they can try to differentiate themselves from the rivals. So therefore, for this industry itself, right, it's still not hard for the new entrants to enter. Why? Because of the low barriers to entry. Okay, low barriers to entry, that means that it's actually quite easy to enter. Okay, ease of entry is still quite high. Okay, and they will earn normal profit in the long run. Why is that so? Because as time goes, there'll be more and more producers coming in. Okay, and therefore that will result in a lot of the substitutes being available. Okay, so therefore that will shift their demand curve leftwards and causing them to only earn normal profit in the long run, in which we will show this in graph later on. Okay, so these are general characteristics of monopolistic firms. Same thing if you were to refer to the table here that we use to learn all the market structure. Same thing as well. When we learn about monopolistic competition, we say that there are many firms, differentiated products, ease of entries, and easy. Okay, so you can see the most important thing is that we are using clothing stores, restaurant as the examples. Okay, so here same thing as well. A few things I want you to remember. Now, since they are selling what we call as differentiated products and services, they have control over their prices to some extent. So they are price maker. Okay, but again, they cannot charge their prices very high because there are too much of competitors in the industry. Okay, they are able to earn abnormal profit in the short run, but in the long run, they are not able to do so because more producers will come in, okay, and eats away the profits. Okay, and what's most important is the elasticity itself. Okay, so for the monopolistic firms, the demand curve itself will be relatively elastic. Okay, relatively elastic means quite elastic, very elastic. Okay, that means consumers will be very price sensitive. Okay, not perfectly, okay, not like perfect competition, perfectly elastic, not, but it's quite elastic, very elastic. That means consumers are quite price sensitive, in which if you simply increase the prices, you know, you will see that there will be a huge percentage fall in the quantity itself. Okay, so therefore here when you say very elastic, so your demand curve is still downward sloping, it's just that it's more elastic, so more elastic demand curve. And why is that so? Because there are a lot of substitutes in the industry itself. Okay, so therefore now this basically sums up the characteristics of the monopolistic firms. So what's next is we are going to show the graph of the monopolistic firms in the short run and in the long run. So same thing, let's have a look into the diagram. Okay, so let's have a look into diagram for monopolistic firms. So if you can understand the graph that we learned in the previous class, then it will be easier for you to understand monopolistic firms as well. So we look into short run and long run as well. Okay, the short run graph and the long run graph. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look into how the short run graph looks like for the monopolistic firms. Okay, or for the monopolistic industry. Okay, so same thing, you have your y-axis and you have your x-axis. You have your origin, and this is your price or your cost, and this is your quantity. Same thing as well, draw your cost graph first, then only you draw your demand curve. Okay, so first of all, same thing as well, you draw your average total cost and draw your marginal cost. Okay, then after that, you draw your demand curve. Same thing, just like how you draw your monopolistic firms. Okay, so this is your price, which is your demand curve, which is your average revenue curve. Same thing as well. Okay. Then after that, your marginal revenue curve as well. So it's just like how you draw your monopoly graph. Okay. But this is for short run only. Okay, so now what happened is, first of all, same thing as well. You need to find out the profit maximization quantity output, profit maximization level of outputs. Okay, so MC equals MR. So MC is here, MR is here. Okay, so therefore you have this profit maximization level of outputs because MC equals MR. Okay, so that means that these are the amount of outputs that the firm should be selling at, should be producing at. Okay, and what about the prices? So you plot upwards. Okay, so once they reach the demand curve, that is the selling price. And here, when it touches the average total cost, that's your cost. That's the average total cost. Okay, so you can see the selling price and your cost over here. And therefore, this part over here, this region over here is your economic profits, abnormal profits. Just the same as how you draw your monopolistic, just the same as how you draw your monopolies firms. Okay, so abnormal profits. Okay, it's just that the demand curve is not as inelastic as monopolistic. It is not as inelastic as monopoly firms. Okay, because these monopolistic firms, we have a lot of producers over here. So same thing, if you were to calculate the profits, you can use back the same methods as well. You use the selling price minus the average total cost times the quantity in this context, which is the region of the rectangle. So therefore, yes, in the short run, they are able to earn the abnormal profits for these monopolistic firms itself. Okay, now before we look into long run, let's see if they achieve economic efficiency or not. So quick recap, when we talk about economic efficiency, we say that we can only consider that the firms are economic efficient if they fulfill two characteristics. One is productive efficiency. Okay, so productive efficiency means that they produce at the lowest point of ATC. Lowest point of ATC. So did they produce at the lowest point of ATC here? No. Okay, so let me show you where is the point here, black color dots. No, they are not producing at that point. So they are not productive efficient. Okay, another requirement is to achieve allocative efficiency. That means they produce up to the most of the goods and services that satisfy the wants or the desires of the consumers. Okay, so therefore here we look into the indicator in which the price equals to marginal cost, because price here represent marginal benefits. Okay, so basically we produce the goods and services up to the extent where it maximizes the desires of the consumers. Okay, so therefore, here again we look in the same thing here. Price equals to MC. So let's see if they achieve that as well. Price equals to MC. So therefore, the intersection is this point. Again, they do not operate that as well. So they are not operating in productive efficiency or allocative efficiency. Because at the end of the day, in the short run, they are only operating based on the profit maximization level of outputs at this level of quantity, at this price, at this cost, not at the black color dots. Okay, so therefore they are neither productive efficient nor allocative efficient. Okay, so remember, productive efficient means they produce at the lowest point of ATC. They are not. Okay, and they are not allocative efficient as well. That means they are not producing the amount of goods and services that maximize the desires of the consumers. Okay, so therefore, they are not economically efficient. Price equals to, oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. Price equals to MC. Sorry, let me change it. Okay, yeah, I saw wrongly. Okay, price equals to MC is here. Price equals to MC here. Sorry. Thanks, though. Yeah, saw wrongly already. Okay, so yeah. So they are not producing at those 2 points. Okay, so what happened is in the long run, there will be more producers coming in. So more producers coming in. So when there will be more producers, that means there will be more substitutes coming in. Okay, so therefore that will result in the shift of the demand curve leftwards. Okay, because there will be less demand towards your products already, because consumers have more choices, more variety of substitutes. Okay, so therefore the demand towards your product will become less. Okay, because they have more choices, they have more substitutes. So because of more availability of substitutes, what happens is the demand curve will shift leftwards. Okay, so therefore in the long run, the demand curve will shift leftwards, and how it ends up like. So let's see here. Okay, price or cost, and here is quantity. Okay, and same thing as well. You draw your cost graph first, average total cost. Okay, and your marginal cost. Now, your demand curve shift leftwards. Now it's only tangent with the average total cost only, and it becomes more elastic as well. So let me draw it like this. Okay. Then so this is your new demand curve. It becomes more elastic. So demand curve will become more elastic as well. Okay. So this is your price, your demand curve, your average revenue curve, your new one. Okay, your new price, your new demand curve, your new average revenue curve. And same thing, you have your marginal revenue curve as well, the new one, okay, after it is shifted. So demand curve shift leftwards, okay, and it also becomes more elastic, okay, relatively elastic, okay, because consumers will be more price sensitive in this context. Okay, so therefore, here same thing as well. Where should they be producing at? So you look into MC equals MR, MC, MR. So it's here. So MC equals MR. So that is the profit maximization point. So that means that is the indicator. So this is the quantity that you should be producing at. Okay, and where is your selling price? Your selling price is demand curve, and your cost is your average total cost curve. So do you realize one thing over here? Here you can see that the selling price and the average total cost are the same. So that means they are break even. We call it as a normal profit. Normal profit in the long run. So when I say normal profit, that means that it has achieved break even, neither profit nor loss. Still, we want to see whether they are economically efficient or not. So same thing. Did they produce at the bottom lowest point of ATC? No as well. No, so they are not productively efficient. Did they produce at the point of price equals to MC? So price is here, MC is here, so the intersection will be here. They are not producing there as well. So they are neither productively efficient nor allocatively efficient. So that's the only graph you need to know for your monopolistic firms to solve. Okay, one for the short run and one for the long run. Okay, the short run is to show you that they are able to earn abnormal profits, but in the long run, because of more producers, more competitors with more variety of substitutes, it ends up with a normal profits only. So they are not allocatively efficient as well. Okay. Again, usually they might not really ask you to show the diagrams, but you need to know why the demand curve will shift leftwards and why is that it becomes more elastic. So I will need you to know how to write this into sentences. This part here, this part is important. Make sure you know. Okay, so this part is important. Okay, make sure you know that why is that the demand curve for monopolistic firms will be more will be more elastic. Okay, and what causes the demand curve to shift leftwards. And remember that the graph for the monopolistic firms itself, the demand curve is downward sloping because they are the price maker. They have control over the prices. So that's why the demand curve will be downward sloping. Okay. Okay, can So let's continue. So overall, what are the advantages and disadvantages of monopolistic competition? The good thing about monopolistic firm is that there will be more variety of choices for consumers because we are talking about like restaurants, clothing stores, fashion stores. So because we know that there are a lot of substitutes for us, so therefore we can choose. So that's very good because there will be more variety of choices. That's the first good thing. And second good thing is that, these firms, right, they try to produce what the consumers want. So consumers are like the king of the choices. So therefore, they will definitely take into account of consumer sovereignty. Remember, we learned about this term in the chapters earlier. So therefore, in all these firms, in order for them to make a good profit, they will take into account of consumer sovereignty. That means consumers are the king of choices. Okay, they have to produce what the consumers want in order to be able to make a good profits. Okay, so therefore, good things for consumer is more variety of choices, and also consumer sovereignty will be taken into account. Okay, but what are the bad things of monopolistic competitions? They are neither productively efficient nor allocatively efficient. Okay, so therefore, that will be the main disadvantages of monopolistic competition. Okay, so now that's the things you need to know for the recap of this topic itself. And now let's have a look into tutorial questions. Now, this is the kind of question that I say that quite important because it's theory question. And for this one, they ask you to do comparison. Okay, so very often in your exam, they might ask you to do comparison as well between two different market structures. Okay, like for example, this one is about perfect competition and monopolistic, which they came out as before as well. Okay, so what are the most important differences between perfect competition and monopolistic competitions? Okay, give two examples of products sold. Okay, so they ask you to give examples of products sold in perfect competition and examples sold in monopolistic competition. This kind of question is quite popular in your exam. They might rephrase the question differently. Okay, like for example, they might ask you why is that one is price taker and the other one is price maker. Remember, because perfect competition is price taker and monopolistic that you just learn is price maker. So they might ask you why is that, why are they different? And or they can ask that why is that the demand curve for perfect competition and monopolistic are different? They can ask you about this as well. So you see, the focus here is to ask you about the differences between two market structure. So this kind of question is important. Usually it's theory questions. Okay, so therefore, is there any similarity between these two industries? Yes, both have a lot of producers and both have low barriers to entry. Anyone can just enter the industry and sell the products. Okay, So therefore, they do have similarities. But what about the difference is this? For the perfect competition, they are selling identical products. Okay, in perfect competition. But in the monopolistic competitions, they are selling differentiated products. So that means they are not identical. Unlike perfect competition, everything is the same. It doesn't matter which producer you go to. At the end, you buy the same type of product. But for the monopolistic firm, it's different. Okay, although although the product could be similar, but there could be differences to some extent in terms of designs, in terms of packaging, in terms of features. Okay, so therefore, that is the difference. That's the first main difference over here. Okay, so one selling identical products and the one is selling differentiated products. Okay, so therefore for perfect competition, they are the price taker because they're selling identical products. They cannot increase the prices, or else people will just go to alternative producers. So therefore, the demand curve is a horizontal demand curve because it's perfectly elastic. Okay, whereas for monopolistic, they have control over the prices as they're selling differentiated products and services, and therefore the demand curve is a downward sloping curve. Okay, so what are the examples? So when you talk about perfect competition, you can talk about any agricultural products like wheat, okay, raw materials, corns. Okay, so these are what we call as perfect competition. And when we talk about monopolistic firms, here we have restaurants, haircuts, okay, fashion stores, okay, cafe. All these are the examples of monopolistic firms. Okay, so there's a theory question over here. Okay, now let's move on to question 2. Now, as I say, question 2 and question 3 are basically the kind of questions that you will come across very often in your final exam in your section B. As I say, in your section B, there'll be one question on asking you to calculate the cost. They give you a table and you have to fill out the blanks. You have to fill out the missing values. Okay, so like for example, over here, I have provided you the answers, but when you look into original tutorial questions, there's no answer over there yet. You need to know how to calculate. Make sure you try to do all this by yourself when you revise. Make sure you do not make the mistake for all these calculations because you already know that there will be one full questions on cost calculation. So make sure you're familiar with the calculation on this. Okay, so very quickly, let's just go through this together. So Central Grocery in New Orleans is famous for its for this product, a large round sandwich filled with deli meats and topped with a tangy olive salad. Suppose the following table represent cost and revenue data for the company itself. Okay, so this is the item that is sold per day. Okay, and that's the price. Okay, so that's the information that is being given to you, and they give you total cost as well. So you have to calculate the rest. Okay, so whatever I highlight in yellow is the one that has been given to you. So they ask you to calculate total revenue. Okay, total revenue, marginal revenue, marginal cost, average total cost, and profits. Okay, so first of all, how do we calculate this total revenue over here? Okay, very simple because this is quantity. So now we just use price times quantity, you get your total revenue. Okay. Now, how do you calculate marginal revenue? The change in total revenue divided by change in quantity. Okay, remember the change in quantity is not always equals to 1. It depends on the scenario. Here it is equals to 1, but in your exam, it might not. Okay. Then after that, you have total cost over here that has been given to you. Okay, and you need to calculate marginal cost. Again, change in total cost divided by change in quantity. Okay, there's a marginal cost. And after that, you calculate average total cost as well. You use your total cost divided by quantity to calculate the average, the cost per unit. And lastly, you calculate your profit, which you use total revenue minus total cost. So you see, if you are able to know the formulas, okay, and get the values right, usually you will not make a mistake. So usually once they ask you to calculate, the next question they will ask you is to calculate the profit maximization quantity and the profit maximization price. Okay, so like here they ask you, if this company wants to maximize profits, what price should it charge, okay, for the product, and what quantity should it sell? Okay, what will be the amount of its total profit? So same thing, this is what we call as the profit maximization level of output. So we refer to MC equals MR. Okay. So refer to MC equals MR. So you see that here marginal revenue is 4 and marginal cost is 4. So therefore this is MC equals MR. So therefore you should be selling at the price of $9 at the quantity of 6. Okay. And what will be the amount of his total profits? 24. Okay. Now, in exam, okay, there could be a situation in which you do not get the same value. You know, the MC and MR, they are not the same values. It is possible. So in that case, when you want to find out your profit maximization level of output, right, you choose the closest one. Okay, so I repeat that in exam, there could be scenario in which you cannot get the exact same values like this one. Here you can see marginal cost is 4, marginal revenue is 4, but in exam, this might not be the case, you know. The values will not be exactly the same, which is true. In realistic, it will always be like that. Okay, so in that case, you look for the closest one. Okay, you choose the quantity that has the closest gap between marginal revenue and marginal cost. Okay, so remember that not always equals to each other. Okay. Now, next one is illustrate the equilibrium of the firm. So basically, this one is just a sketching only, just to sketch the diagram and to show this profit maximization level of outputs. So you same thing as well, like what we draw. Okay, so basically you can just sketch. When I say sketch, means that you draw your y-axis, x-axis, origin, price or cost, quantity. Okay, we just call it as sketching. So then after that you have average total cost. Okay, marginal cost. Okay, and then same thing. This is your demand curve. This is your price equals to demand curve equals to average revenue, and then after that you have your marginal revenue. Okay, so you just sketch and then here you show the quantity. Okay, you just show the quantity. Okay, so how much the quantity? 6, and then the price is 9.5. Okay, so 9 and then ATC is 5. Okay, so you just sketch. Okay, so this selling price at $9. This one is 5, right? Yeah, 5. Okay, and then how much the quantity again? 6. Okay, thank you. Okay, like that. So which is true. So here you can see the profits over here is 24 because 4 times 6. Okay, the area of the rectangle. So therefore, when they say sketching, right, you just sketch the equilibrium. The equilibrium means this selling price, this cost based on this MC equals MR. That's what they call as sketching. Okay, can? Okay, let's continue. Okay, next one. Again, theory question. That's why I say this kind of question is important. Make sure you know how to write. So that's why very often students don't know what to write. That's why they are not able to do it well. Okay, now question 3. Why does the entry of new firms cause the demand curve, okay, in the monopolistic competitive market to shift to the left and become more elastic? That's the meaning. That's the rationale. That's the we need to write the reasons. Okay, that to explain the leftward shift of the demand curve and why is that becomes more price elastic. So therefore, we said that it shift to the left. Why? Because the firm, okay, the firm will sell fewer units of output, okay, when there are additional firms in the area selling similar products. That means you are not able to sell as much as compared to before anymore. Okay, so you will sell less when there are more substitutes, when there are more producers, when there are more competitors. Okay, and the demand curve will become more price elastic. It's because consumers have more choices to choose from, so they can be more price sensitive, in which if you simply increase the prices, you can observe a huge percentage fall in the quantity market. Okay, so here if you say that consumers have additional firms from which to buy the product, so changes in price will bring larger changes in quantity market. That means that consumers are price sensitive. Okay, so now the demand for the product will be very price elastic. Okay, very elastic. Okay, relatively elastic is because you can use a definition of the elastic. Okay, a small percentage increase in price will result in a huge percentage fall in quantity demanded. Why is that so? Because they are price sensitive. So the first bullet point over here is for me to explain why is the demand curve shift leftwards. And the second point over here is for me to talk about the elastic parts. Okay, so that's how you need to write in your exam as well. Okay, let's continue. Question 4. Okay, so again, this kind of questions usually may be in your section B as well. Apart from calculations, they may ask you identify the points in the in the diagram as well. Okay, so you are being given with this diagram. Okay, and if the firm is monopolistic competition, what is the profit maximization level of outputs? So by now you should be able to identify the points already. Okay, so again, you look for MC equals MR. Okay. So MC equals and MR. So the intersection is here. Okay, so that's what I call as profit maximization point. So therefore, this is the quantity that you should be selling at what price? Okay, at what price you plot upwards. Selling price is here at point E here. So to be exact, we call as P4. Okay, P4. Okay, next one. What is the average total cost at the profit maximization level of outputs? So average total cost is point D over here. Okay, so point D is here, which is P2. Okay, P2, the one that touched the average total cost. Okay, point D at P2. So which area is the profits? So the rectangle area is your profits. Abnormal profits. So P4 to P2 to P4 to point E and point D. Okay, so that's why they describe like this. Basically, they are referring to the area of rectangle that you are earning abnormal profits. Okay. Now, next one, they ask you at which output level is the firm allocatively efficient? Allocatively efficient, that means we are referring to price equals to marginal cost. Okay, so let's see where is the price equals to marginal cost. So demand curve is also your price curve and also equals your average revenue. Okay, so price equals to marginal cost. Okay, is point B over here. At which quantity? At this Q2. Okay, this Q2. Okay, Q2. Next one, at which output level is the firm productively efficient? So productively efficient, that means we look into the lowest point of average total cost. Okay, average total cost. So Again, we identify for the points, point C over here, okay, which is at this quantity Q3, okay, Q3. So therefore, at the end, does this graph represent the long run or the short run? So how do you know if it's short run or long run? Depends on the profits. Yeah. So therefore, they are earning abnormal profits, and it is monopolistic firms. So we say that they are only earning abnormal profits in the short run. So we know that this is a short run curve. Okay, because they are still earning economic profits. Okay, next one over here. Now, why monopolistic firms exist? Are they good for the society? Provide your justification. So again, this one is a bit like advantages and disadvantages. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of monopolistic firms. Okay, so the good thing is, like what I say, is good because it provides a variety of choices for consumers. Okay, it takes into account of consumer sovereignty, the one that I highlight. Okay, so therefore consumers can choose our preferred products from the varieties that we have in the market. So this is good because, you know, like our satisfaction is being satisfied. Our wants and needs are being satisfied. Okay, but the bad thing is that the market is not economically efficient. That means they are neither productive, efficient, and they are not allocative, efficient as well. Okay. I continue to cover the last chapter, can, right? Done already by this chapter. Okay. Then I will take attendance first because some of you need to make a move. Okay, so any question for this topic itself? So we are done with this monopolistic market structure. Can. Let them take this one first. Okay, so graph, this one. Any other parts that you need to take photo? No? Okay, hold on. Let's wait, hold on. Let me pause. Wow, so excited, Okay, so let's have a look into the last topic on oligopoly. For this chapter, there's not much things that you need to know. Okay, so let's have a look into oligopoly, the last market structure. Same thing, when you learn any of the market structure, look into the characteristic first. Okay, so let's have a look into the characteristics. Oh, I cannot do any annotations. Oh, can. Okay, so okay, so therefore, when we look into the oligopoly, we are referring to a market structure in which there are only few firms in the industry itself. Okay, few firms dominating the industry. Okay, you can think about like automobile industry, or what we call as the airline industry. There are only few firms dominating the industry, the market itself. Airlines, telecommunications, okay, manufacturing automobiles, all these, okay, there are only few firms in the industry. They can be selling either identical or differentiated products, okay, but the most important thing is that there are only few firms in the industry itself. But it's not easy to enter. The ease of entry is very low. Why? Because there are a lot of barriers to enter. Like, for example, you know, it might require you a large amount of money in order for you to get started in this market itself, in this industry itself. Or it requires licensing, okay? It requires copyrights, okay? It requires big factories in order for you to get started. So you see that it's not easy for anyone to enter to this industry itself, okay? Now, they can be either price taker or price maker as well. Why is that so? Because their actions are interdependent on each other. Because that means that although, yes, they can actually have discretion over the prices, to change the prices, because there are only few firms dominating the industry. But the thing is, they have to take into account of that whatever decisions they are doing, right, will affect others as well, because there are only few firms in the industry. So because of this interdependent behavior, the actions that's being done by one firm will affect the other because there are only few firms in the industry. So therefore, they cannot simply adjust the prices. So therefore, here we say that it can either be price taker or price maker. But what's most important thing is that later on we'll learn about this term called price rigidity. That means that although they have control over the prices, but they cannot simply go and change the prices because of the interdependence behavior. Okay? Usually for this kind of firms, they are able to earn abnormal profits in both short run and long run because there are only few firms in the industry. Okay? And how the graph looks like, the graph we call as king demand curve, in which the elastic it will have price elastic and price inelastic from the graph itself. I will show you that in the diagram in a while. Okay, so overall, okay, in summary, we talk about oligopoly because we are referring to a small number of the interdependent firms. Okay, I highlight interdependent firms. That means their actions are dependent on each other. Okay, so they compete and they dominate the market with high barriers of entry. Okay, so here I give you an example like airlines, petrol stations. Okay, so there are a high barriers of entry to enter to this industry itself. Now, so since there are only few firms in this industry, right? How they actually survive in this industry? They have two methods. Okay, so they have two methods over here. The first one is they can compete, and second is they can collude. Okay, so how they compete? They can compete from price competition. Okay, price competition, that means like you can try to attract more customers by selling at the lower prices. But usually this does not work in oligopoly firms. Why? Because of this price rigidity. Okay, why is that so? Because you see, if a firm, increase the price, okay, very hard to write here though. If a firm increase the price, okay, if you increase the price, others will not follow. Okay, other firms. Okay, other firms will not follow. Okay, why? Because you increase the prices, but others do not follow. What happens is consumers will go to other firms, right? Because the price is lower, right? So therefore, if a firm increase the prices, others will not follow. Okay, to avoid losing customers. To avoid losing customers. Okay. Same thing here. If a firm reduce the price, okay, others will follow. Okay, others will follow. Okay, why? Because to also gain customers, okay, to gain customer also. So therefore, we see that you cannot simply go and increase or decrease the prices, because if you increase the prices, you sure lose already one, because you increase the prices, but other firms don't want to increase. So therefore, all the customers will go to other firms. So therefore, you cannot get any new customers. Okay, vice versa, if you go and reduce the prices, others will follow as well, because they don't want to lose customers. Okay, so you can change this interchangeably. Okay, so here same thing as well. If you reduce the prices, others will follow. Why? Because they don't want to lose the customers. Okay, same thing. Okay, same rationale. Okay, so therefore here you can see that there's a price rigidity over here. That means that you cannot simply control over the prices, although you can. Okay, so if that is not going to work, then you can go for non-price competition. Non-price competition is like to compete in terms of quality, designs, attributes, okay, the characteristics of the product itself. Okay, so later on, when we talk about price rigidity, we will link it to king demand curve in a while. Okay, now, on the other hand, they can actually collude as well. Collude means like pakat, like they come together and work on some plans which can be illegal. Okay, for example, they can collude, and we talk about collusion, it can be divided into explicit collusion and implicit collusion. Explicit collusion is like kata, Okay, that means like a formal agreement between two companies to purposely reduce the output to mark up the prices. So that means they want to behave like monopoly. Okay, so because since there are only few firms dominating the industry, right, they can try to play this, okay, by saying that, okay, let's sign this formal agreement and therefore we purposely reduce the output to create the shortages and mark up the prices, take advantage of consumers. That's how they maximize the profits if they want to. Okay, but of course it's illegal. Definitely it's illegal. Okay, you are not allowed to do that. Okay, you are basically exploiting the market. Now, on the other hand, we have implicit collusion. When we talk about implicit collusion, there's not any formal agreement, but they still pakat. But they pakat in a very indirect way. So, for example, we call it as price leadership. Now, think about telecommunication. Okay, you have different brands of telecommunication network. Which one is the market leader? A telecommunication network. Maxis, right? Okay, so let's say, for example, if Maxis increase the prices, then others will try to follow as well. There's no any formal agreement. There's no any agreement between all of them, but they just follow what the leaders do. Okay, so therefore, if the leader increase the prices, everyone follow. Okay, so that's how they mark up the profits together. Okay, so that's what I call as implicit collusion. It's a tacit collusion. Okay, so here there's no any evidence. So therefore, you cannot say that these firms are exploiting the market. But when we talk about explicit collusion, the cartel is a formal agreement in which there is evidence. Okay, so therefore now just now we talk about price rigidity, and now we want to look into a graph which is called king demand curve. This is the only graph that you need to know for this topic for your syllabus at this moment. Okay, king demand curve. So therefore here, this graph, king demand curve, is to show you that at the end of the day, right? Okay, this is the price that the firm will stick to and at this quantity. They will not simply increase the price and they will not simply decrease the price because of price rigidity. Okay, why is that so? Like what I mentioned just now, if you increase the prices, other firms will not follow. Okay, so you are the one losing the customers. Okay, other firms will definitely will not want to follow because they still want to gain their customers. So you increase your price, your problem, because at the end, people can go to other firms. Okay, so therefore, here you can see that when you increase the prices, what happens is consumers will all go away to other competitors already. So that means what? A small percentage increase in price will result in a huge percentage fall in quantity demanded. So the first part over here is very elastic. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if you reduce the prices, you say that, oh, you thought that if I reduce the price, customers will come to me, more people will come to me. Okay, yes, by right, it works that way. But sadly, you forgot that other firms will follow as well. So if the firm reduces the prices, rivals will feel forced to lower theirs too because they don't want to lose their customer as well. They want to get the same customer as you, so they don't want to lose the customers. So therefore, they will follow as well. So if you reduce the prices, other firms will follow. So at the end of the day, you cannot see the impacts because everyone will follow everyone will reduce the prices. So if everyone reduce the prices, even though you've reduced the prices by a lot, but you cannot see a very significant increase in the quantity demanded. So a huge percentage fall in the prices will only result in a small increase in the quantity demanded. So you see, it is very inelastic. Okay, so one is elastic and one is inelastic over here. So at the end, you cannot simply have control over the prices and therefore we call it as price rigidity. So this is the simplest version of the graph that you need to draw if you want to. By right, it looks like this. The graph looks like this when it includes the marginal cost and marginal revenue. Okay, just now we do not draw the marginal cost and marginal revenue in this graph. Okay, but if let's say marginal cost and marginal revenue is being incorporated, okay, that's how the graph looks like, how the actual graph looks like. Okay, just now we just show the demand curve and the average revenue curve itself. Okay, but when these marginal costs and marginal revenue are being incorporated, at the end of the day, you can see that there's still price rigidity, okay, in which the price will still stick to here, okay? So therefore, it still shows price rigidity and at this quantity as well. But of course, you don't have to draw this one if you want to. You just stick to this one, the simplest version will do. Okay, you don't have to learn this one. Okay, so because of the interdependence behavior, although you have control over the prices, but still at the end of the day, you are not able to simply make changes in terms of your prices. Okay, so therefore, here this one is not part of the syllabus, so you can ignore this graph. Okay, the next one is called game theory. So because we say that the decisions of firms are interdependent on each other, so therefore sometimes we can analyze their actions and their payoff with the use of game theory, okay, or what we call as payoff metrics. So when we talk about game theory over here, we say that it is referring to the study of the decisions of firms in industries where the profits of a firm depend on its interactions with other firms. You only learn about game theory under the oligopoly market is because of the interdependence behavior. They are dependent on each other. Okay, interdependence behavior. Okay, so to understand game theory, we need to know a few things over here. First, we need to know what is payoff metrics. Payoff metrics means like the payoff from each action. Okay, and you have dominant strategy. Okay, dominant strategy means that the best strategy, regardless of what others choose. Okay, so now let's say, for example, let me just close this. Oh, it's okay. I use this one. Okay. Okay, I use the. Okay, so let me draw the game theory. Okay, so let me show you the game theory, and we look into payoff metrics. Okay, so for example, let's say we look into a scenario. So let's say we look into a scenario in which, let's say, two persons commit a crime, okay, and they both have been arrested. So now both of them have been put into the interrogation room, okay. So now you have person A and person B, okay. So now I want to show the payoff metrics, the outcomes from their decisions. So let's say for person A, he can choose to either to confess or remain silent. Okay. Now, same thing for person B as well. He can choose to confess or remain silent. So both of them are put in separate rooms. Okay, so therefore, okay, for example, let's say, for example, both of them confess together. Okay, then they both will get 5 years of jail terms. Okay, 5 years of jail terms. Now, if let's say B confess, but A remains silent, what happened is A will get into trouble because he remains silent. He's not cooperative, right? So he will get 8 years of jail term, and this B will get away, 0. Okay, he will get away from jail term because he cooperates with the police. Okay, same thing if A confess. Okay, if A confess, he is cooperative, so he will get away from the jail terms, and B remains silent, he will get 8 years of jail term. But if both remain silent, okay, they both can get away from jail term together. Okay, so therefore, now when you look into this scenario, let's say if you are either one of the person, let's say you are either A or you are either B, should you confess or should you remain silent actually? But other people can confess what? You can remain silent because you see these payoff metrics. But when you remain silent, what if the other person confess? So what is your best strategy actually? It's confess actually. So therefore you see, if you are either one of the persons, right? Okay, you should actually confess. Because if you remain silent, you do not know what the other person will do. So to protect your own self-interest, you should confess. So therefore, because you do not know what other person do, okay? So let's say you are A, you do not know what the B will say. So B may not want to remain silent because maybe he thought that, oh, maybe you remain silent, I want to confess. Okay? So therefore, what happened is when you confess, he also confess. So both end up at 5 years of geotherms. This is what I call as dominant strategy actually. Dominant strategy is like the best strategy regardless of what the decisions of others make. Okay, so first of all, you see like for example, why you make the decisions to confess, because you feel that that's the best strategy to you. Okay, that's what I call as dominant strategy, the best strategy that you choose for regardless of what the actions that other people choose. Okay, so therefore it ends up at this Nash equilibrium. Okay, this one, the first rectangle over here. So do you realize one thing over here? Is it good outcome? Definitely not a good outcome. You already say that the best outcome is both remain silent. So we call it as a prisoner dilemma. That means that when both of the parties try to pursue their own dominant strategy, it ends up as a worse outcome. You thought that this is the best for you. Yes, that's the best for you, and that's the best for him. But when we choose our own best strategy, it ends up a very bad outcome. We call it as prisoner dilemma. So actually, why is the best way? The best way is to both remain silent, okay, and end up at these terms. Usually, you can only do this by having collusion. That means you bakat, you collude with another person. But as I say, this one you are being put in two separate rooms, so therefore you're not able to collude. But if you are able to collude, you can say, why not remain silent? And we get away from this. So therefore, you see, we end up in the prison dilemma because of the lack of collusion over here. You cannot cooperate with another person. Okay, so therefore, the best strategy is both remain silent and end up with zero geotherm. So same thing as well, you use game theory, you use payoff metrics to analyze the actions or the payoff from certain decisions. Like for example, company A, either they want to increase the prices or reduce the prices. Okay, and company B can choose as well, either to increase the prices or to reduce the prices as well. And you can see the outcomes. Okay, so that's how they use the payoff metrics to decide what is the best strategy for them to choose. Okay, so basically, now we use one last thing to sum up our syllabus. I use this one to show you game theory. I feel that from this movie itself, it's a very good application of game theory from one of the scenes. So in this movie called The Dark Knight, right? This Joker, okay, he basically want to test the the human behavior because he want to prove to the Batman by saying that usually human will work based on their self-interest. Okay, so he want to use this experiment, okay, social experiment, to show Batman that actually human will make the decisions based on their own self-interest. So what happened is Joker, right? Okay, he put these two groups of people in two different boats. Okay, boat A is all about civilians, and boat B are all about prisoners. Okay, so what happened is he put up the bombs as well on both of the in both of the boats. Okay, so two boats are being set with bombs. Okay, what happened is each boat, right, is being given with one remote control that is used to explode the other boat. Okay, so each boat is being given a remote control to explode the other boat. Okay, so what happened is if one of the boats press the button to explode the other boat, then you are safe. Okay, because you press the boat, you explode the other boat already, so no one will explode you, so you are safe. But if both remain not pressing, then the Joker will explode both of the boats together at the end of the day. Okay, so therefore, he said that if none presses, everyone will be blown up sky high. Okay, so what will be the dominant strategy, your best strategy for both A and both B? So construct the payoff matrix. So same thing, if you use what we learned just now, okay, same thing over here. If let's use this one to find out the best strategy. Okay, so same thing. Let's see the outcomes. Okay, so you have payoff matrix here. Okay, so you have both A and both B. So both A, say that they are civilians. Okay, so they can choose to either choose to press the remote control to export the other boots or not, or choose not to press. Okay, same thing for boot B. Okay, they are a group of prisoners. They can choose to press or not to press as well. Okay, now if both press together, sure explode low. Okay, so both will explode. Okay, if let's say boot B press, okay, if boot B press the remote control, okay, they will be safe because it will explode the other boots, right? So if boot A does not press, they will get exploded. Okay, but boot B will remain safe. Same thing for boot A as well. If they press, they will remain safe, and boot B, they will get exploded. If both do not press, as what Joker says, both will be exploded sky high. So therefore, what's your best strategy then? To press or not to press? To press, right? To press, which is true in the movie, in the scenes, right? Civilians say that they should press because they feel that prisoners should not be given a second chance. So they want to press the remote control. But you know what's interesting in this movie, right? The prisoners throw away the remote control. They feel that they don't have any rights to go and kill people. Yeah, dramatic scenes, okay? But at the end, both also didn't press because they are waiting for Batman to come and rescue. Okay, so so therefore, what happened is here you can see that the dominant strategy, the best strategy, regardless of what other people choose, is to press and explode the other boots. Okay, now if I change the scenario a bit, if both do not press, they will be safe. Okay, let's say if I say that Joker changed the strategy by saying that if both do not press, they both will be safe. So therefore, what is your dominant strategy? It's still the same, you still have to press because you scare that other people will press. So therefore, even though now I change this outcome for the last quadrant over here, but still your dominant strategy do not change. The best strategy for you is still to press because you do not know what other people will do. They might say that, oh, don't worry, I won't press, but actually they press. Okay, so therefore the dominant strategy is both boats will choose to press. But when they both choose to press, it ends up as the prisoner dilemma. Because both will get exploded when both press together. But if both can collude, then they will end up at this situation. Yeah. Okay. So that's only if they can collude. Okay. So that's what we call as payoff matrix over here. Payoff matrix game theory will not be coming out in your exam, so you don't have to study for this one. You only study the characteristic of oligopoly firms, and the most that you need to know is the demand, the king demand curve itself. That's the only graph that you need to know for oligopoly firms. So it's only theories, characteristics, and the king demand curve. Very simple contents. Those things that you come across in the slides. This one is only an introduction for intermediate microeconomics later on when you go for year 2. Okay. So therefore, now let's have a look into tutorial questions. We have provided the answers for you. Question 1, briefly, what is oligopoly and provide some real-world examples. So very simple. You define what is oligopoly firms, in which these are what we call as interdependent firms. Okay, and you can give examples: airlines, automobiles. Okay, cigarette manufacturing company. Okay, telecommunication network. Now, question 2, explain the shape of an oligopoly's demand curve. Okay, so what is the demand curve? We call it as king demand curve. The upper part is more price elastic. Okay, that means that you cannot simply increase the prices because other people will not follow and you will lose the customers afterwards. And you will not simply decrease the prices as well, because if you decrease the prices, others will follow as well. Then you cannot see any impacts at all. Okay, so therefore, the upper part is price elastic and the bottom part is price inelastic. Why? Because of the interdependence behavior. You cannot simply change the price. Okay, so this is quite important to understand price rigidity. Okay, now next one, briefly explain the game theory and why is that essential to oligopolies but not to perfect competition, and how different are these two markets. So you see, you learn about game theory, that means you learn about payoff metrics. Okay, so payoff metrics is only relevant if, let's say, both firms are interdependent on each other. Whatever action that you do will affect others, and whatever other people do, their decisions will affect you as well. This is why you use payoff metrics. So you see, you just now you make decisions, you try to think what other people will do, right? So that's what we call as interdependence. You are interdependent on the other as well. Others people decisions will affect you, so you need to take into account of what's their strategy. Okay, so so that's the answers for this one. The one I highlighted for you. Okay, and you can see that another one that I highlight for you is that game theory is relevant when you make decisions when attaining one goals depends on the interactions with others. Okay, so therefore this is why you only learn about game theory under the oligopolies market structure. Okay, next one is to talk about the difference between few market structures between perfect competition and oligopoly and monopoly. So this one is just the characteristics, the one that you learn in table. Now in exam, if you really run out of time, I don't mind you draw table. Okay, I don't mind you draw the table that you come across in like this one. You know, I don't mind. Okay, if you don't have time. Okay, and last one, define a collusive oligopoly, how its graph looks like. That means when oligopoly firms, they go and collude together to restrict the outputs and to mark up the prices, how the graph looks like. Now, when you want to show this graph, this one you just show like monopoly graph. Basically, that means like this one. Like this one. That means they purposely reduce the outputs, okay, and to mark up the prices. Okay, so that's what you need to draw for the graph to show that if they collude, that means if they collude, they behave like monopoly already, they will actually operate at the points where MC equals MR and purposely reduce the outputs to mark up the prices. So that means basically it's the same as like this kind of graph. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of your syllabus already. Time flies, man. Can. Yeah, here you go. Okay. Yeah, wait, which one? Okay, can. Hey, I thought you have the documents as well, right?
Yes.
Just in case you're wondering. Okay, so let me stop recording.